My guest today is Luxembourg-Iranian filmmaker Kiyan Agadjani, and he found his way to the arts first through classical piano, which soon replaced with a love for the silver screen. He moved to the UK in 2018, where he studied filmmaking at the University of Kent and makes his first short film, George Barton, in 2021. But then it was his short film Arman Elisa in 2023, which won the award for Best Live Action Short at the Austin Film Festival, which qualified him for the 2025 Academy Awards. But with his newest short film, Linda Linda, Keon takes a shift from two social dramas to a genre film, all the while trying to stay true to what matters to him the most, celebrating the sympathy for otherness within all of us. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome award-winning filmmaker Kiyan Agadjani and his short film, Linda Linda, to the show. Welcome, Kiyan.
Thanks so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Well, you have to tell me, how did you come up with this wonderful idea for Linda Linda?
I remember thinking I'd love to try a genre movie, and I thought back. I always think back to my childhood of what I enjoyed watching when I was a kid, and I remember watching this thing with Paul Newman and Robert Redford with my father. That was sort of my first gangster movie I had watched, and I thought, wouldn't it be fun to do something like that? But of course, that's not enough for a story. That's not enough for a short film. You want to sort of find some kind of emotional core. And so I thought even back further, and I thought of some conversations I've had with my mother. And I remember my mom showing me a picture once of her when she was very young. And she thought, and she told me, oh, I feel like this is a different person, I'm a different person now. And I thought she couldn't recognize herself anymore. And I thought that's strangely, beautiful and poetic in many ways. And I thought, well, that would be nice. Let's tell a story of someone who's lost themselves and who can't recognize themselves anymore. And that's the case with Linda Collins, the main character in my movie. And so I brought these two things together. I thought, my love for gangster films when I was little, and then also this idea of someone not recognizing themselves and needing to find themselves again.
Yeah, I really love that part with Linda because I think it was twice, maybe three times in the film where she worried that she couldn't remember what she was like before. She was trying to remember what she looked like in her youth. But at the same time, part of her identity she felt that she lost because, well, she was a bank robber.
Exactly, and I can give this away. The opening, in the opening we see young Linda. We see a home video footage from the 70s, where she would spend time with her partner in crime, Tony. And I thought it would be interesting to sort of make the audience complicit. They know what young Linda looked like, but she doesn't. And I thought that might be an interesting setup to get into this whole story.
It was because when I was watching the film, this is more of a love story, but it's also a heartbreak story with about a 50-year gap that comes back again for Linda and Tony. I mean, even Bonnie and Clyde was a love story. Did you get some inspiration from Bonnie and Clyde? Because even I felt when I watched this film, there was this bit of this classiness to it, almost like Thomas Crown.
Oh, that doesn't ring a bell. Thomas Crown?
Thomas Crown Affair, the movie with Pierce Bronson, which I believe
Oh my
that was the
God, I haven't seen
remake.
that.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it's got that classiness to it where Bonnie and Clyde were just in your face. So, and I love the fact that when the way that you had started the film, uh, it made the audience actually enjoy uh, the ride along with Linda and Tony as they were robbing all of those banks when they were young. So we actually kind of cheered them on a bit, I think.
I think so, and I wanted to. Obviously, we wear this reference on our sleeves. Bonnie and Clyde was exactly at the same time I watched the Sting. I would watch Bonnie and Clyde and all that stuff. And so yeah, the evidence is the reference is right there. And I thought, well, that's how I remember pitching it to the funds here in Luxembourg, where I said, well, what if Bonnie and Clyde broke up and grew old? And so within the opening, we sort of do all the Bonnie and Clyde stuff. We get it out the way, and then we say, okay, well, what would happen if they didn't die, first of all, and then the other one, what would happen if they settled down and then met again after 50 years? And so I kind of wanted to put all the fun, all the stuff we know already in there in the opening, and then see, well, what's after that? What could be after that?
Well, in the story, I think part of the reason that Linda lost herself is because of the way that it ended with Tony. I mean, it's like you have this, you have the feeling that you're living a wonderful life. You've got someone by your side. You're enjoying what life should be like, and then all of a sudden, it's gone. And I think from that very moment, even when she was young, she'd never really gained her footing after that. And as the years passed by, she was, like you said, she couldn't remember what she looked like back in the day when she was young, and she kind of missed the adrenaline rush of robbing the banks.
Yeah, I mean, it also difference. She was in Ireland. They would, go Dublin, Galway, rob the banks there, and they come to this tiny country of Luxembourg, where I am from, where things are very quaint, very small, and she lives sort of small town life. Um, I wouldn't say she's unhappy, but she is content. But she has a little garden that she takes care of. She has neighbors that she loves, that love and who love her. But of course, this is too quiet for her, and this is too, yeah, too, uh, almost too peaceful for someone like her. And when the opportunity arises to sort of rekindle some of that tumultuous past, well, she may just go for that.
Well, Tony was an interesting character. And I kept thinking, why would he think that by coming back to Linda would give him closure? Um, and it wasn't exactly him apologizing. It was almost like he was trying to go around an apology, but she never once forgave him. Uh, she just wanted to know the why behind it. And I'm glad that you didn't have her forgive him, as it left an open door as to what was to come in later in the film.
Yeah, it was a tricky. Yeah, Tony was a tricky character to write because obviously, this guy left her and shows up 50 years later. 50 years later. Well, how would we possibly like this guy? I mean, what a prick.
Yeah,
For,
exactly.
for showing up again. But that's tricky because obviously you don't want to have a character that you don't understand at all. So from a screenwriting perspective, it was an interesting challenge. Like, how do I introduce this character? How would Linda possibly react to him reappearing? And where can I take these two people? Will they get closure? Or will they not? Or how will they get closure? And yeah, I thought it was quite a interesting challenge to do in the screenwriting part of the
Well,
work.
between Tony and Linda, Linda found her reason to relive the days of robbing a bank. She had a reason. His reason wasn't so clear, which is great because I think he was using the reason as possibly finding closure with Linda, like let's go out with a bang. And his reason was completely different than hers, but he didn't know what her reason was.
Exactly. And obviously, to some degree, I love leaving some of the interpretation up to the viewer, and once I put it out, like, whatever people see in it is valid. But if you'd like to hear like where I came from, perhaps with Tony, it's difficult. Is it a matter of ego? Is it true regret? At least that's what I told the actor, that it was true regret. But it is left open, and he's never quite really truly open about his feelings about, is it money? Is it ego? Is it regret? Is it love? Actually, and I find joy in not telling that to the audience and letting them interpret it. And in many ways, I've heard different things as well, which I love. How people have been interpreting it, and sometimes like we get more sympathy for Tony, sometimes we get none at all, and I think both are equally interesting and valid.
Yeah, I didn't have any sympathy for Tony at all. And
Mhm.
I
Which
had,
I understand.
yeah, because I had sympathy for Linda more for the fact that she couldn't remember what she was like back in the day.
Mhm.
Um, she was trying to figure out what she was like in her youth because it had been so long. And then, of course, she ends up with a bit of that financial trouble. So we have sympathy for her, but I had none whatsoever for Tony. And he was
It's difficult.
likable. I will say that. He was likable, but yeah, I really loved Linda. And you're saying that with the audience, you're kind of getting a 50-50 when it comes to those who, have sympathy for Tony and those who do not.
I, let me be clear. I don't think anyone likes Tony. I think some people may have an ounce of empathy for him, but no. I mean, the heart of the story is Linda, and the reason I made this movie was because I fell in love with this character. But as a screenwriter and director, it's difficult to. I remember really disliking Tony and genuinely just not wanting to see his face. But I can't do that. I need to sort of somewhere get him. That always, that also will help with directing the actors, or with just the world is in black and white, and I had to sort of do some mental gymnastics to sort of understand him. And I think some people might to some degree, but no one will love him. I think that would be hard.
Well, okay. So being a filmmaker in Luxembourg, how were you able to cast the film?
So, Claire Johnston, who plays Linda, I had met her on a feature film shoot. I was third assistant director on that, and she's just the kindest person I've ever met in my life, genuinely. And I thought she was wonderful. She had incredible screen presence, and I really wanted to sort of gift her a main character role in a film that I would write. So the only reason Linda is Irish is because Claire is Irish, because the actress is Irish, and I wrote this for her, because I loved her personally and I really enjoyed her acting, and so it was written for her. This is tailored for the actress. And then for Tony, we actually did a casting in London. We got in touch with a wonderful casting directress, Nancy Bishop, and we did a casting there, and yeah, we found our wonderful actor for Tony, and we flew him in. Luckily, we were able to do that, and they hit it off immediately. I think they were even flirting sometimes, and I thought, yeah, it was wonderful.
Yeah, they both of them were perfect for the parts for Linda and Tony, but I think the biggest thing about this film is why in the world did you choose to film on Kodak Super 8 and Super 16 millimeter? That was an extremely bold move on your part.
Yeah, and it was terrifying. I mean, I pooped my pants on multiple occasions. We were so there's a little story behind this. We were thinking of being so bold to shoot the first minutes in Super 8. We were like, okay, this is as far as we're going to lean out the window. And that was like already, I'd never shot on film. My DOP, Anselm Havu, had. So I was like, okay, well, maybe this is a cool occasion to try that. But then something interesting happens. My producer, Vincent Quinault, he had just finished a co-production with Bosnia of a feature film called Lost Country, which was shown at Cannes Film Festival a couple of years ago. And they had shot on Super 16. And the shoot was done. And my producer called me and he said, Kiyan, we have a box left. We didn't use it. We have a box of film left. Do you want it? And I said, yes, please. And so this was wonderful. We did not have to pay for this. The feature film had paid for that. So it was great. Otherwise, we wouldn't have be able to afford it. And I thought this is a once in a lifetime opportunity for, at least, not in a lifetime, but for someone as young as me, doing short films, to be able to shoot a whole short film on film. I thought, well, I need to do this. So again, the first thing I did was poop my pants because I was scared. I'd never done that before. And then the second thing I did was I called my DOP and he said, well, yeah, let's go. Let's do this. And so we did a lot of research. We prepared a lot. We did camera tests in advance. He had shot a commercial on 16 before, so it wasn't completely out of his comfort zone. Yeah, so and by the way, my DOP is also very young. He's 26 right now. So, and when we shot it was 25. And incredibly talented person. And yeah, so we went for it. We shot this thing on film.
Well, how many feet of film is in a box?
I don't remember how much that was in there. I think we had about 20 rolls, if I'm not mistaken. It was enough. It was great. And we shot about, I don't know how many feet it was, but I think we shot about 5 or 6 hours, if I'm not mistaken. I would have to check that again.
Did
But
you have to, and with some of the scenes, did you have to do multiple takes?
so we did the calculation in advance, and we came to 3 takes per shot, and that was it was less than what I had for my last film. I averaged on 6 to 7 takes per shot on my previous short film, and so we went into it well knowing that we can't have that many takes. But honestly, I've loved it so much. I would do it again as well, because what happened was, well, everyone had to be so focused at all times. Everyone had to prepare so much. We had to know exactly what we're doing. I had to genuinely do exactly what's the job description of a director. Make choices, and don't make them in the moment, make them in advance. Obviously in the moment you adapt, but I had to genuinely understand what it means to be a director, and which is, know what you want, make your choices in advance, and communicate that very clearly to everyone, so that once you're on set, there's no questions, and you can manage with 3 takes. And we did. And I remember I always do a speech at the end of my shoot, and I remember just thinking and talking to people, and I saying, why aren't we always this focused? This is incredible. This is how we should be making movies. And I've shot my next one March of this year, and I remember my opening speech being, let's pretend that, because it was digital, and I said, let's pretend we're shooting on film, because we were just all so on point. And so it taught me and our entire team just how far you can get if you plan ahead, if everyone's on the same page, everyone pulls on the same rope, then you can easily, do your film with 2-3 takes a shot.
So did you work from a storyboard or a shot list?
We did a short list, and then I'm terrible at drawing. So what we did was our storyboard was basically pictures with our phone of every scene. So every shot was thoroughly planned, and I always do it this way for my last film as well. We know exactly what we're doing in advance, and so it helps us also be very, very efficient in terms of, let's say, set design. So if you look at Linda's living room, everything we remade. The wallpaper is new. The wall had the most ugly shade of pink that you could possibly imagine. We changed everything in that room. but the set design ends exactly where the frame ends. Everything around that we knew we wouldn't shoot, and we didn't. And that helped us obviously with the budget. It helped us with not overworking the production design team. And yeah, it was really fun and rewarding to see it come together in such a precise manner.
I love that. Now, I know that the biggest gamble is that you would have to wait to see what the footage looked like after it came back from the lab. Did you have to do any reshoots?
No, we didn't have any reshoots. Very luckily, we could only afford sending the roles out for development in Brussels, because in Luxembourg we can't develop films. We could afford to do it once in the middle of the shoot. So by the time the dailies came in for the first half, I mean, we were practically done. So it was quite a scary thing. Obviously, very luckily, we did have a monitor on set. So that made a very big difference. Our setup was sort of like the very end of shooting on film in the 90s, just before everyone sort of switched to digital. And so we had a tiny little digital camera just above the sensor that gave me the most terrible looking, like 240p monitor image, but it was just enough to see what's in the frame, to see the acting. And so I was lucky in that regard. We didn't fly. I didn't at least fly as blind as many people before us did when monitors weren't a thing. And so, yeah, the whole process was scary, but it was equally rewarding. And I think I remember thinking back, the first day we were all quite on edge, because most of our team was very, very young, and most of us hadn't done it before. But I remember by day two, that sort of respect we had for the medium, where we were like, oh, I'm scared of doing takes, I'm scared of pushing the button. That sort of went away, and the focus stayed. And I think that was the most wonderful sort of personal arc for all of us behind the camera.
Well, so I know that with when you shot with Super 8, that was the younger versions of Tony and Linda. Was that easier to do because I think there was no dialogue with the Super 8?
Yes, there was no dialogue. We did shoot the entire montage in one day. So we were a reduced unit. Instead of about, I think we were 20, almost 20 people on the main shoot, but on the reduced unit, we were 6 or 7. We got a minivan. We did a very sort of unconventional way of doing this. We really reduced the crew, got into the minivan, and went all over Luxembourg and shot this. Obviously, it's playing Ireland. So we had obviously very precisely chosen where to shoot, where it's vague enough that we get away with it. We also had an Irish flag with us that we put on every pole we could find when we stopped anywhere. So that was quite fun, and we didn't record any sound there either, so that was quite liberating in a sense. And then obviously the camera is just this little, there's nothing to it. We had no lighting team, we didn't have camera assistants. It was just the DOP, myself, the actors, and then costume and makeup. It was and someone from set design, of course. But that was a fun day, very fun day.
So definitely Super 8 was a lot easier to deal with than the 16.
Yeah, definitely. Just by virtue of it being so compact, and there was no monitor as well, so we just had to trust that. I trusted my DOP, trust him with my life, and it was liberating in a sense that we couldn't. It was just less. There were less things to prepare and account for, and that was just great.
Well, I also noticed that with the title and the credits, that you kept the look and feel of a complete analog film. It reminds us of seeing movies from the 1970s, and I guess you did that on purpose.
Yes, totally. I mean, I remember looking at a bunch of also title card designs, and just thinking of what this one could look like. I remember looking at Rebel Without a Cause, which had this beautiful sort of blood red title card, and then that's sort of where our inspiration came from. And yeah, we thought might as well sort of lean all the way into it. I even remember there's one transition that is sort of a diamond shaped transition in the film, in the last few minutes. And I remember putting that on there with my editor and think just putting that in as a joke. It was sort of like a George Lucas Star Wars transition, and we were like, oh, let's put it there. That looks funny. Let's see if the producer notices. And then I actually grew on us, and we thought, actually, if we're ever going to use a diamond shaped transition, as cheesy and corny as it is, well, it will be this film. So, so we really try to lean into something sort of quaint, something nostalgic, and to me it paid off. I'm happy. It feels homogenic in a way.
Yeah, the whole film is a complete period piece from the 70s because it's just got the look, the film, the graphics. It's just perfect. Now, I understand that you premiered the film in Luxembourg. What was the audience's reaction to it?
There was a lot of laughing, which makes me so happy. We got reactions, and that genuinely, that's such a rewarding thing for me. I mean, sitting with the audience for the first time on the big screen, the aspect ratio of so far all of my films have been 2.39 to 1, so it fills the entire thing, and it makes me so happy. And then, indeed, the fan favorite character is the neighbor Jean Paul. He got a lot of laughs, I think. I think we got some awns as well, so that's nice. And so that made me very happy. And then, well, we showed it again a couple weeks ago at Dead Center Film Festival in Oklahoma City, and similarly laughing and some cheering at the end, and that. I mean, I can't describe how happy that makes me, of course, because all you want is for people to feel something, right? And if they vocalize that, I mean, yeah, I can't imagine anything more rewarding than that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to give the ending away because people need to see the ending because it really just closes up the story for Linda, and I love the way that it ended. So I'm not going to give that away. And now, how does it feel to be an official selection at Holly Shorts this year?
I am over the moon. I've booked my tickets today, my plane tickets, so I'm coming to LA. I'm so excited to see it at the Chinese Theater. Um, about 10 years ago, we did a family trip to LA, and I have a picture in front of the Chinese Theater as a big fan of the cinematic arts. And I can't wait to reproduce that in front of it, and then to go inside and share my movie with everyone. I'm ecstatic.
I love that. So what do you know what block you're already in?
So it's the blog Golden Age, it's called. Yeah, so I assume it's with characters that are, elderly, as far as I understood, or sort of, on the latter half of life, and that's quite exciting. Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna check that block out. Now, when the audiences do see your film, what would you like for them to take away from it?
Oh, I, I love films that bring me joy. Whether they also make me cry or tear up or anything, that's great. But I love just feeling joy, not necessarily just only because of the story, but the joy you feel just of being transported into a different story. And if it's for 15 minutes and they feel some form of escape or, joy, that will then my job is done. I'll be very happy because that's what I like to feel when I go into movies.
Yeah, and I'm really happy that for this year with all of the short films, there's a little bit more short films that bring joy and happiness to people, and not so much of the doom and gloom that a lot of filmmakers like to focus on. So I'm really glad that you brought us a film that puts a smile on our face.
Well, that'll be great if that happens. I'll be very happy about that.
So now I understand that you had just mentioned that you had done a film earlier this year. Is that also a short film?
Yes, this will be my fourth short film and hopefully my last if everything goes right. It's called Menen's Howls. We're going to enter mixing very soon, so it's going to be done soon, and I'm hoping to then send it out to the world and see what they think. So this is what I'm finishing right now, and then parallel to that, I've started work on writing my first feature film. So fingers crossed I get to do that one day.
So you're going to film the feature in Luxembourg?
We're definitely gonna be seeking funding in Luxembourg, and then typically you look for a co-production with another country to get some more funds, and then yeah, that's usually how a lot of Luxembourgish films are made, and that's how I'm hoping to do it with my Luxembourgish producer, at least that I have.
Yeah, you and I had talked about it before, and the last filmmaker from Luxembourg that I interviewed was Cyrus Neshvad, who
Yes,
had the red suitcase, which many people still talk about today, and
absolutely.
so we know that a lot of great films come out of Luxembourg.
They do, and we do more and more, and hopefully we can be seen on the world stage soon. Already we are, even more, hopefully.
Even more. And ladies and gentlemen, Linda, well, the film was filmed in Luxembourg, but based with based the story in Ireland. But a former bank robber, Linda, longs for her turbulent past when one day her former partner in crime, Tony, reappears. He is faced with a choice to do one last job or bid him farewell. Now, Linda is a delightful film of the past and present, and the realism comes from the film being shot on both Super 8 and Super 16, bringing the audience into the past and the present through the memories of both Linda and Tony. Just like Bonnie and Clyde, this is a love story, but not a rekindled love story that was found in the past. But the present is now faced with financial uncertainty and the longing for the lost youth of yesterday. Now, I loved Linda, and this film comes with a surprise, and you'll have to watch it to find out what that surprise is. So, is love rekindled or does revenge become sweet? I'm not going to tell you. You'll have to see it for yourself at the Holly Shores Film Festival. And I want to thank you, Kiyan, for sharing your wonderful film with me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Very, very welcome. And ladies and gentlemen, you can catch all of the Bond on Cinema interviews at bondoncinema.com. Check out our Prime show, our YouTube channel. And yes, you can listen to us on platforms such as Spotify, iTunes, and Audible, and more. And as for me, you're either going to see me at the movies or on the red carpet.
It felt like we were the first people on earth to invent love. Tony and I. I've forgotten what I looked like back then.
Miss Collins, we need you to take a decision.
We said we would run away somewhere very far together.
I want to go to Tokyo.
Who's there? Tony?
Jean-Paul, tantôt de starmol un à ma fille.